We're going to go back in time to 2019 to start off today's show as Tom Pelissero had this tweet. Again, August 20th, 2019, so almost 7 years ago. He tweeted out, Cardinals quarterback Kyler Murray played for a team called the Vikings as a kid. So he grew up a Vikings fan. Randy Moss, Daunte Culpepper, Brett Favre in 2009 until the end. Says that one hurt. Pretty cool stuff. So on today's show, we'll talk about Kyler Murray. Also, Kyler Murray, when he was asked a couple of years ago, hey, who are you a fan of when you were a kid? And he said, I like the Vikings, bro, when I was growing up. So we'll talk about Kyler, but even more on Kyler and also Tua Tagovailoa coming in from Adam Schefter here saying the Dolphins would like to explore trading Tua Tagovailoa. Ditto for the Cardinals and Kyler Murray, but it remains unclear whether a deal for either quarterback is feasible given the financial hurdles for an acquiring team. There certainly are expected to be a handful of teams in the market for quarterbacks. In addition to the Dolphins and Cardinals, the list could include the New York Jets, Atlanta Falcons, Cleveland Browns, Pittsburgh Steelers, and our very own Minnesota Vikings. So today's show, a full deep dive on Kyler Murray. You guys have been watching the show this offseason. You know I'm pretty high on Kyler, or at least higher compared to most other people that cover the Minnesota Vikings. And I think it would work out. I think I could almost guarantee a playoff berth for this upcoming season if Kyler Murray is the quarterback under center. So full deep dive, the financials, what the Vikings have to give up, and also the scheme fit between Kyler Murray and Kevin O'Connell. But before we do so, if you guys could, hit that subscribe button today. We are closing in here on 70,000 subs on YouTube. We just need 170 more of you guys to hit that subscribe button, and you guys can get daily videos around your favorite football team, the Minnesota Vikings. So hit that subscribe button today and join our Vikings Now family. All right, so the biggest hurdle for trading for Kyler Murray for any team is definitely his contract. So if the Vikings were to take on Kyler without the Cardinals, keep in mind, taking on any of this money, the Vikings would take on a cap hit of almost $40 million in 26, 33.68 in 2027, and then also a team option in 2028. So $43.7 million if the Vikings elect to pick that up, but this is a team option. So even if it goes awry, it doesn't work out, you're only connected to Kyler for 2 years. Anybody's saying, Patrick, well, the Vikings are $40 million in the hole. How could they take on that contract? Well, we discussed on a previous show about how the Vikings can easily get the $60+ million in 2026 cap space. That's restructuring guys like Murphy, Jefferson, Grenard, cutting Kelly, Jones, Hawkinson, extending Brian O'Neill, also cutting Javon Hargrave. Just like that, the Vikings are at $60 million to spend in free agency. Now, I also will say this. If the Vikings do end up trading for Kyler Murray, I would expect them to rework that contract, where it could also just be like, oh, the Vikings are giving Kyler an extension of 1 season, add some void years, push that money down the line, because if they do end up trading for him, I really, really doubt that the Vikings would end up giving Kyler that, that full $40 million for next year. I would expect him to go in a different direction with his money. And how much would it take to give up for Kyler Murray? I think it would take a 3rd-round pick. Now, that is a lot. Like, that's a top 100 pick in the NFL draft. But again, this is Kyler Murray. We're not talking about the Vikings trading for, like, Mac Jones, for example, from the Niners, where Kyler Murray was the number 1 overall pick. He's got superstar talent. He's got a superstar aura around him. And I think with how bad the Cardinals have been, if he would come to a good organization like the Minnesota Vikings, we will see Kyler Murray play the best ball he has ever played in his NFL career. And let's just say the Vikings, if they view Kyler Murray as a legit franchise quarterback, they can make it work to acquire him. Like giving up that 3rd-round pick, throw it out the window. The money from his contract, $40 million cap hit this upcoming season. They can make that work. Like for everybody saying Kyler's not possible. There's no chance the Vikings trade for Kyler Murray because of the financials and the draft capital. I just don't find that to be true. If they want Kyler Murray in this building and they want him to be a Minnesota Viking and be that quarterback for next season, they can make it work, and the hurdles they would have to jump aren't even that extreme. It would just take restructuring, cutting a couple players, and also you could potentially rework his contract. We could lower that cap hit to like $15 million for this upcoming season. But you guys let me know. Do you want Kyler Murray to be QB1 next season? He's a polarizing name. A lot of people have a lot of different thoughts on him. So you guys let me know your thoughts. Give me a Y for yes or give me an N for no if you want Kyler to be QB1 next season. I do think one of the biggest hurdles with Kyler coming to the Minnesota Vikings is just his scheme fit with Kevin O'Connell. There's definitely some issues there. I'm not going to just, be naive and say there would be no issues. There would definitely be some issues and some growing pains early on. So we'll discuss that coming up on the show next. But I do want to tell you guys about today's presenting sponsor, Harry's, a shaving company. I got their brand new razor right here. It is absolutely awesome. And for a limited time, our listeners can get the Harry's Plus trial set for only $10 at harrys.com/chat. Now, I have used old razors in the past, and they just became way too dull, way too fast, and they also ended up irritating my neck. Also costed way too much, $30 for 8 refills. It was a total scam. But Harry's Plus is Harry's heaviest razor handle ever. Made from metal, never plastic. Designed to fit comfortably in your hand, and the heavier the handle means the more control and a luxe feel you have on your shave. And Harry's doesn't just make razors, they got a full line of grooming essentials from shave gel to deodorant to body wash, all thoughtfully made and priced to stock up. All of Harry's blades and grooming products can be delivered right to your door. Set up your preferred scheduled and never run out of blades again. So for a limited time, our listeners can get the Harry's Plus trial set for only $10 at harrys.com/chat. The set includes the all-new Harry's Plus razor, one refined 5-blade cartridge, a 2-ounce foaming shave gel, and a travel cover to protect your blades on the go. Just head to harrys.com/chat to claim this offer. And after you purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you here at Vikings Now by Chat Sports. All right, let's talk about Kyler Murray here. And we can just address the kind of biggest issue, the biggest problem with Kyler Murray coming to the Minnesota Vikings. And there's no doubt it's a scheme fit with Kevin O'Connell. And I don't think it's anything really from KOC's scheme that needs to change. I just think it's from a tendency problem with Kyler Murray, and that's just he's never really played under center. Like, I think the highest I was looking up, the highest he played under center in Arizona was like 25% of the snaps. KOC, I mean, it's around 50-50, him under center and him in the gun. So I think that's going to have to be a big change. But also, like, remember what everybody was saying about a guy like Caleb Williams when Ben Johnson was coming to town? Oh, how can Caleb play under center? Both number 1 overall picks, both, highly active, scrambling quarterbacks. Like, I could see Kyler really shoring that part of his game up. And plus, like, Kyler would benefit, I think, from going under center. Now, obviously, on your drop back, your back is to the defense, especially if you're going those deep play actions, like your whole back's facing the other way. So it might just take a couple weeks to get used to it. But I don't have that big of an issue with the scheme fit. Throwing over the middle of the field, not Kyler's strongest, part of his game, but it's not as bad as you think. So I don't think that would be that huge of an issue. He just layered the football pretty well. So Jefferson on those deep digs, same with Jordan Addison. He could hit those throws at a high level. So the scheme fit, not the biggest issue in my mind, but still like the biggest issue when acquiring Kyler Murray to the Vikings. But number 2 here, the out of structure playmaking. I think this is the biggest benefit to Kyler Murray because, Kevin O'Connell, I think, is a top 15 offensive mind in the league. But when his quarterback is not exactly on time and on target, and you ask his quarterback to go make a play out of structure, he can kind of get into some problems with whichever quarterback that is. But when it comes to Kyler Murray, this guy's elite at playing backyard football. When the play is broken down and you're just trying to tackle this guy, like this guy really is similar to a guy like Caleb Williams. Doesn't have the arm that Caleb does in terms of the velocity and those fastballs over the middle of the field, but in terms of scampering around with those legs of his, I mean, he is a tough tackle. So even if the play breaks down and Kyler, he's got to get out of the pocket. Now, he does sometimes have a tendency to leave the pocket too soon, which I could see, again, back to the scheme fit thing with Kevin O'Connell. KOC getting a little frustrated with that. But also, I could see Kyler leaving the pocket, Kevin O'Connell screaming at him, going, oh, no, and then Kyler making a ridiculous play. So that's a huge benefit to Kyler as well. And then also, how about this? When you talk about quarterbacks and who's going to be the next Sam Darnold, everybody says, oh, it's going to be Mac Jones. Could be a guy like Will Levis. Could be somebody like Anthony Richardson. Nobody really ever talks about Kyler Murray following the same suit as Sam Darnold. Like, the Cardinals are a horrible organization. Just because they're in Arizona and they don't get the same national media attention as teams like the Jets or, teams like even the Cleveland Browns get more attention, I feel like people don't really discredit the Cardinals as much as they should. And also, he's had some bad coaching in his career. Like, Cliff Kingsbury was great for that year and a half with Kyler Murray, his rookie year heading into his second season, but he had Jonathan Gannon as his head coach for the last 3 seasons. Jonathan Gannon. That's about as bad as it can get. Also, Cliff Kingsbury, like right now, he's the Rams quarterback coach. Jonathan Gannon, like, He's a DC now, so I just don't think Kyler's had the best coaching in his career. So more reason why, like, hey, he didn't work out in Arizona, but if he comes to Minnesota with the infrastructure and the coaching staff we have, should see him playing his best football. And also, I think he's a really good deep ball thrower. Now, over the last couple of years, he's taken a step back. Now, yeah, he deserves some blame for that too, but also I think it's a scheme that Petzing had in Arizona. But he had a stretch here from 2019 to 2021 where he was one of the best deep ball throwers in the National Football League. This is Kyler Murray on 20-plus yard passes. Just check out 2019 to 2021 on the right hand of your screen. 2021, he was 35 of 76, completing 46% of those passes. 9 tuds, 3 interceptions. The year prior, 2020, 27 of 64, 42.2%, 9 touchdowns, no interceptions. And his rookie year, completed 41.9% of those passes, 6 touchdowns, and 4 picks. Now, the league average since 2019 was anywhere between 35 and 38%. Now, if you also look on the left hand of your screen, he's definitely taken a drop off for the last couple of years. Now, improved a little bit in 2025, being about league average, but I still think he's got some untapped potential there, kind of getting back to 2019, the 21 version of him. And, my last kind of note on Kyler Murray is the leadership concerns with him. There was that whole clause in his contract where he wasn't allowed to play video games and all that. And, yeah, I hear that. Definitely not great on a guy, but also this was young Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray's 28 years old right now. He's 28 and a half years old. So when starting next season, he will be 29. You grow up a lot. Like when you were 29 years old compared to when you were 23, 24, you probably grew up a ton. So I don't really think the maturity issues would be that big of a problem with me. And also the Vikings culture, it should help. Like the Vikings have a good, stable organization. That should benefit a guy like Kyler Murray a whole lot. So I wouldn't really have too many issues about that. I think people kind of try to paint Kyler in a bad picture. It's like, dude, this guy's an all-time great talent. He just needs to get in the right organization. I'll continue to pound the table this offseason for Kyler to Minnesota. But if you guys made it to the end, just hit me with those skulls down below in the comment section. Appreciate all of you guys for watching today's show. We'll get on out of here. As always, Skull Vikes.